Hello and welcome to the Bonus Points podcast. I'm your host, Joe Garrett, as always being joined by Ollie Guy.
Hello, hello.
And today we have a very special guest, friend of the show, and keeping up with the tradition of only having guests that share second names with us. We've been joined by Chris Guy.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Welcome to the show.
Oh, lovely to be here. Lovely to be here.
I guess I'll let you introduce kind of who Chris is for people that don't know Ollie, just because, because you knew him first.
I did know him first. So Chris is my friend from uni. He is bona fide Ratchet and Clank head, you could say.
Look at his head.
Clank head. Look at me.
He's a Clank head.
Built in.
Also, you may recognise him from the golf walkabout mini golf.
He's the
Wally,
Wally.
at least.
He's the Wally. Yeah, no,
it's good to put a face to a Wally, isn't it?
Yeah, put a little visor on me and pull the glasses off. I'm identical.
Yeah. We did game design at uni together, and we're still friends. 12, 13
all
years
them
on.
years.
Don't even know how long it's been, but yeah, good guy. And here he is.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming on and joining us to chat games. So I obviously know Chris through Ollie, and we've just played like a whole bunch of different games, kind of just together. But I only know your recent kind of gaming history. So what kind of like games apart from Ratchet and Clank? We'll get to that. What were you into growing up?
So I was I think the first console I got was a Mega Drive. I didn't really have any of the early, like the Nintendo stuff. I was Sony really, and that was kind of it. So I got the Mega Drive and played a lot of Sonic. And there's this one game that I played a lot that no one ever seems to know about called like Whiz Rabbits or something like that, or Liz and Whiz, something like that. It's a very weird little name.
So is this a game or a dream? Or
well, you play two little wizards and their whole job is to collect rabbits and vegetables to make a soup out of.
Okay.
It's called Wiz and Liz.
Wiz and Liz, yeah.
God, yeah. Ollie, we've just dodged a bullet. I'm so glad you picked Ratchet and Clank for the game rather than Wizzy and Wazzy.
Yeah, but then otherwise.
Okay, cool. And then what sort of games are you kind of playing at the moment?
Oh, right now. So I made like a real 180 from Ratchet and Clank, and just the next game I played after that was Elden Ring, which has been it's a very different experience from Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, big tonal shift.
Exactly.
Well, you've been playing through Ratchet and Clank 2016 quite a few times.
Yeah. But when you asked me what I wanted to play, it was split between Ratchet and Clank and I can't remember what it was split between, but I was like, let's do Ratchet and Clank. It's a bit different, and also I know a lot about that game. And then that was like the beginning of February, and since then I've finished it like 5 times.
So when we were in person the other day, I asked you about, like, I said, like, oh, are you gonna like replay it to like familiarize yourself again with it before the podcast? And then you said that, and I couldn't tell with you whether you were joking or not. Like, do you actually replay this game that much? Like, genuinely?
I did in February. Yeah, I don't go back to it that much, but yeah, in February I think actually it's about 4, and I'm partway through number 5, which is when I stopped, because I was like, I've done it enough, it's fine.
That's unbelievable, especially for like, it's not a short game.
But you're a new game plussing on you, yeah. So
So once you finish, you get into like a challenge mode of the game, and like you can level up your weapons more, they do more damage, and you can unlock more stuff, and after a while each new game takes less and less time, so I think I can get through it in like 3 hours or something like that at the minute.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about what this game is. So obviously this is the loose remake of the original Ratchet and Clank game. So the original came out in 2002, and then this remake came out in 2016. Both versions made by Insomniac Games. And it's always nice when they're kind of remaking their own things. But then the weird thing with this game is it's kind of I don't know, would you call it a tie-in or a crossover with a film as well, isn't it?
Yeah, with like an especially not very good film. Unfortunately.
I didn't. Did anyone watch the film?
Yeah.
I watched it like in the background while doing other stuff, which I think is probably the best way to watch it if you have to watch it.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have seen clips of it if you played the game. There's clips of the film in the game, so and that gives you an idea of the quality, because they're, I think, the worst bit of the game.
Yeah.
So I looked into who made it. So it was made by Rainmaker Entertainment, and if you look through their like I don't know filmography, whatever, like they mainly do kids like kind of cartoons, like TV shows rather than films. So that's kind of like what they mainly focus on doing. And, I think it looks pretty good, the film. The production values seem all right. They got all like the most of the cast from the actual game as well. So it fits in a bit nicer. But I think it's probably just the script just lets it down a bit too much, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a little wonky in there. It's not great in a lot of places.
So the new one's called Rift Apart.
Rift Apart, yeah.
And that is the cutscenes better in that one then, or
yeah, the
cutscenes they're okay in this game.
Yeah, I think it's the writing. Like quality wise, they're gorgeous, right? They look really nice. And then Rift Apart, the gameplay looks like the film, which is super weird. And the cutscenes are just the same because they're all built into it. But I think the cutscenes are better in Rift Apart. They do some stuff that's interesting. They do like interesting like wipe cuts that you don't really see in games a lot, where they're like showing off the PS5 loading stuff, where they'll like show you a cutscene and then they'll wipe across, and that wipe is them loading a new area for you to view in engine. So they're just like showing off in a few places, but
they just fit in a bit more naturally. Because I feel like with sometimes the films, sometimes you do feel because you're jumping in the middle of a scene, and you can kind of see how they're like it all makes sense. But like there's one bit where is when Ratchet first meets Clank. And they're like chatting, but then they do voiceover of saying like, oh, and then Clank explained to me this. And it's like just voiceover of what they're saying. But they're obviously like having a really animated conversation and doing jokes and stuff. And if they were actually intended voiceover, they'd be much more generic just talking. It really doesn't fit in that well. But I don't think it detracts that much, does it?
Yeah. Well, that's because it's because the story of the game is not really the story of the movie. They're quite different, but they're like trying to cut them together, so they're showing you clips of the movie and then just removing the audio because what they're talking about just isn't in the game, like in lots of situations.
Right.
I feel like they should lean fully into that and have it like just all the film clips is just like a western or something. They just make no sense.
Of course, real people.
What's your history of Ratchet and Clank? Have you played any of them up before this one, Ollie?
Chris lent me one of them, the PS3 one, and I played about 3 hours of it. And then I played this one.
Okay. And have you played all of them, Chris?
Near enough. I think there's like some PSP ones I haven't played.
Okay.
But I've played near enough all of them. Yeah.
This is the 15th one.
Yeah.
Which is mad.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there.
It's like Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it's wild, and they're sort of all over the place as well. Like the villains change constantly, the story changes constantly. They like occasionally just kick you into like one of the games. They break time in order for the story to make sense. They're like part of the story is that time doesn't exist anymore, so we can do whatever we want just to be able to eke more story out of the characters.
I think one of the nice things is they are very like. They just don't care. Like if they think it will be funny or entertaining, they'll just do it. Like they're not precious at all. There's even jokes about like, oh, can you do this? They're like, oh, well, we'll see you in the next reboot or whatever. Like breaking the fourth wall and stuff, which I kind of enjoy. So going in mainly fresh, Ollie, like what was your kind of like first impression of like the story? Like is this game like what you thought it would be?
Yeah, it's actually like way better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It looks amazing as well. Like the graphics are so good. And the voice acting is good, and the combat, everything is good. Like the values are so, like the production values are so high, like way higher than I was expecting.
They almost consistently like do really well. Like people love them.
Yeah, so this was something that I was looking at. I didn't. We can go into it later.
Sure.
But I was looking at like it compared to other first party games. But we'll talk about it. I don't want to go into it now because it's for the end. But yeah. But anyway, I liked it and it was way better than I thought it was going to be. And, yeah.
So I think that the fun thing will be to get into the gameplay. But before we do that, was there anything else about the story? Because it's kind of set up in a bit of a weird way where it's this character, Captain Quark, in like prison explaining the story of what happened. And I didn't play the original Ratchet and Clank. How close is it to the actual first game? Because I'm assuming the first game isn't set up in that way, or is it, Chris?
No, not really. It's like almost completely different. There's like the core locations are the same, but there's like compared to the first game, they remove a bunch of locations and they move characters into like different planets. Like there's a whole frozen planet that just isn't in the remake. That's like all those characters like merged into this other one, which is where some stuff happens. The like big. It's called the Blargian Snagglebeast. I'll just say it. I know the name of it. I think it's the big monster thing.
Show your tattoo, Chris. Go on. Lift your shirt.
Yeah, it's
Snuggle
they
Bros.
just move stuff. Yeah, but the story is like very different. Like there's like loads of differences. I think because it doesn't really set itself up for the rest of the games that they wanted to make. Like it's meant to try and reset you up for Rift Apart there's the next one that came out after this, so they had to like redo a bunch of stuff where they were like, after 13 games, we've sort of figured out we want to do a lot of things differently, which is fair, I guess.
We had a question from Madam Mobius that was actually kind of what you've just covered, but they also said it's pretty faithful, but I'm curious if there's anything good or bad that was left out. And I say, let's reframe that as, do you think it's worth playing the original, despite the fact this new one exists?
For most people, probably not. Just play the remake. Like, it looks nicer. It controls better, right? Like, they've tweaked the controls. The first one plays real weird. Like, you don't have the strafing while you're aiming. So you can't sidestep from people. You're just shooting where you're looking.
What about the spaceship bits? Were they in the original? Where you fly the ship?
No, I don't think so. There definitely was in second and third ones, which I think is when they introduced them. But I actually haven't played the original for a really long time. So like, there's a lot of things that are missing. I just played the remake now. Why wouldn't I?
It's pretty perfect for me and you, Ollie, just because this was the first. Well, actually, there was I played a demo of the first one, and actually when I got to the remake, it reminded me of that. I remember I totally forgot I'd played this demo, and there's the level where you start off and then there's like the thing when you go in the water, this big shark thing eats you, this big fish. And I remember playing the demo and just seeing how long I could stay in the water before it got me, and I just did that again and again. And like I totally forgot about it until I played it back again, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember playing this. So that was my only experience before diving into this one. What about the humor? Maybe you've played it so many times, Chris, it's not so funny. So maybe I'll ask Ollie first. Like did you find it funny?
Yeah, it's great. The writing's really good. I'll tell you my favorite character.
That's what I was going to ask if you got a quote or something.
No, I don't have a quote. My favorite character was the the guy Grimm that like runs the engineering shop. Yeah, he's like the guy at the beginning. His brother. Then you go and meet his brother in the tropical area. He's so great. He was such a great character. Like, I didn't want to leave him behind ever. Like, kept going back for him. Like, come on, you got to come with me.
Not Skid McMarks.
Skid McMarks is cool.
That guy is not aged well. He's like 90s. But he was like, maybe he was meant to be cool, and now he's just like 90s.
It's so hard to tell, right? Like, because he is not cool in 2022 at all. Like, I remember there's one bit. So I genuinely really like a lot of the writing and jokes. I think they're quite good fun. But there are a few bits that like you have got a bit of cringe on them where they're trying a bit too hard, and they're mostly Skid McMarks. Like when you're going through his like unbuilt super shop thing, and he's got like a voice line that's like, "We're gonna teach you how to talk cool," and you're like, "Shut up, man! You don't know."
There's actually some Captain Quark's line were quite funny. I think it's for the clip it's actually from the film, I think, when he's like doing a speech saying, as long as you got heart, then like you can be one of like the group or whatever. And then like Ratchet goes up and he's like, I got heart, and he's like, yeah, but your heart's like stuck in a weak body or something like that. I'll butcher the quote, but that actually made me kind of chuckle a little bit.
And there was the when you're disguised as Captain Quark, and every time you walk up, if you haven't got the disguise on, the robot's like, pectoral muscles are inadequate.
And then when you battle Captain Quark, so there's a gun where it will like identify like weak points, and if you do it at Captain Quark, it's just his biceps, just his weak points. It's just like, and I love it when like the comedy is so tied to the gameplay, and I think that's probably a good transition to talk about some of the weapons, because it's kind of a platformer game, but mainly it's kind of a combat sort of action kind of shooting game. So I think the guns are really the star of the show. So do you want to go first, Ollie? What did you think of the guns?
It's excellent. the amount of chaos you can cause. Like I didn't really know you could do that in this game until like I really started going for it. I actually managed to get slowdown twice, which I was quite happy with because like the amount of stuff that was going on. I was like really going for it. Like so basically, come up to a fight, I always put down Groovatron, which is the one that makes them all dance, keep them all still. Then I put down the thing that goes like it pulses out,
the like proton drum.
Yeah, and then I just go in there with a pixelizer because that's like the shotgun. Which
pixelizer's great.
I have no idea how the technology, like the game technology behind that gun works. Like how on earth?
Do you want to kind of for the audio listeners? Do you want to kind of describe what it does?
Yeah, so like you shoot the enemies and they turn into like pixelated mosaic.
Yeah, well, I guess they're like voxels, aren't they? Like full cubes. Yeah.
Well, you don't realise that at first. You shoot them, they look like they just kind of go low res, but then when they die, they turn into actual cubes that you can then smash with your wrench. Like,
yeah, with a great like sound effects of like an 80s arcade game when you do it as well. And I think the good thing of all this guns, we describe it about like there's the disco ball, the groovaton that makes everyone dance, and this one, the fact that it works on every enemy, like it works on bosses and tanks. I threw the groovaton and the tank started dancing. Like the fact that they stick to their rules, I think is amazing.
Is wild. Yeah, I was going to bring.
Is that a big reason why you kind of keep coming back? Is it to kind of level up the weapons and see what else they can do, and just like the gunplay? Is that why you keep coming back?
Yeah. So like for this one's actually not an amazing example of it because like in some of the later games, so over the course of the game, the max level is level 5, right? When you go to New Game Plus, the max level goes up to 10, so you can level them up even further and make them stronger. In later games, once you get them to level 10, the weapon changes, right? Its effect changes, like how it does stuff is different to how it was before. So it changes at level 5, it changes at level 10. So you effectively get like triple the guns if you keep playing enough of it. Yeah. Like there's a great one that I really like that's like it fires a stream of lava. It's not in this game. I think it's in the third game. But the more you do that, the further this lava goes until you've just got this like silly string of lava all over the screen and everything is just burning in front of you. It's brilliant. It's great.
I got a question. It's not from me. It's from Tiber Plays, who says, in this game, I absolutely love the wacky and weird weapons. In the main story, every time I bought a weapon, I was excited to try it out. Favourite weapon has to be the Sheepinator with infinite ammo, which, by the way, was an absolute touch. That's got infinite ammo. Took me ages to realise. Something about turning enemies into sheep always makes me laugh. Joe, what's your favourite gun, mate?
I'll talk about it, but this is a good time to mention that we're going to do a full tier list video, which we'll link in the description of the YouTube video of this podcast. If you want to go here really in depth, we're going to, as a group, rank them all. I think my favorite one is probably the pixelizer. I think because it's like because there's some that are like funny, but aren't that effective or like very specific. But a pixelizer is like a great choice all the way through, and I love the sound effects. I love seeing like the way it comes, and what I love is the animations is so good on the enemies, and they're so reactive. Like there's some games when you're shooting and they might go or like there's just a hit marker, but on this, like every gun there's like falling over, or if there's a grenade, they fly across the screen. And I think that's what makes them so fun, because in terms of actually like aiming and shooting, there's only really one gun that requires aim. Like they're all area of effect guns, or a thing you throw down, or like very forgiving like flamethrower, or the pixelizer, which is basically a shotgun. So they need to make it engaging by the strategy of switching weapons and by the way the enemies react, rather than it being like getting headshots.
Yeah, also I like how the enemies will comment on the gun that you're using, which I know is such a small thing, but the fact that you'll run up to them with the Groovatron and they'll be like, run, he's got a Groovatron, like they know what it is. Like they know they need to get out of the way, which is crazy. It's
a known thing as well. So is this for the older, like especially like the PS2 generation games, like is this something was that always the case back then? Like could the PlayStation do like handle kind of what we're talking about?
For the most part. So the pixelizer wasn't in the original. That's kind of a newer one. So I don't think that the PS2 would have been able to handle whatever computer magic they're doing to make that work. But for a lot of it, Groovatron still existed. They were still like building a dance animation for every single enemy that exists in the game, and some NPCs. If you chuck it around some NPCs, like your friends, they dance as well. Like, so they did all of that stuff then as well. And then cool. I don't remember if they commented on it originally. I think they did in the PS3 ones. I remember that being a thing I remember from the PS3 games for sure.
Well, one of my few problems, and this is a personal problem, so this won't shock you, but I'm an idiot. And so I didn't realise for the longest time. So you got like your quick select with like the D-pad to quick switch between guns, or you can hold triangle to kind of bring up 2 radial wheels because there's so many guns to pick the guns. For some reason, I don't know, I must have just missed where it told me. I didn't realise you could hold triangle to bring up that view. So I was just using the quick select, or then like you can like quickly change what's in the quick select. So like for a big portion of the game, I was struggling going like, oh, this weapon switching is way more fiddly than it needs to be. And then I worked it out. And then the game, like I was still enjoying the game because it was still just fun anyway. But once I worked that out and I was like actively switching more because it came so much easier and really like comboing the guns, that's when I was really like, oh, this game is very good, isn't it? It went from a good game to very good.
I just, I mainly just use the triangle button because it's so fast anyway. Like,
once I worked that out, I basically did. There was a few. What I did, where you mentioned about you got your starters, the ones you throw out first. So for me, it'd be like Mr. Zircon. Might as well throw him out there. Just for the voice lines, it's worth having him running around. And so I would have those ones on my quick select, and then I'd kind of get into the weeds and start rapidly switching between them. So some of the other things. So there's a bit of platforming in the game as well, but then there's also some puzzles. Mainly when you're playing as Clank, the robot. So with you, Chris, what did you think of those areas?
So I think they're one of the weaker parts of the game. Like I don't like you can tell the game's been built around this like sort of very chaotic third person shooting with all these guns, and then they put these like puzzle areas in, and especially in this one where it's the first one, and the puzzles are very similar to the original where it's like they're not really tricky, except maybe like one exception. They're mostly just like slow. You just have to walk around, chuck you know how to solve it, you just have to then go and do it, and it's a bit slow to do it. So I always find them a little bit tedious. They're more fun in other games. They get better after this, but like in this one they're always a bit like I don't know. I'd rather just be like, I figured it out, like let me just do it quickly.
Did you review get stuck on any of them?
No,
not on the Clank bits, but those laser puzzles. What did you guys think of those?
So when I found out I could auto do those puzzles, I just auto did it because I was like, after the first few, when it got to the point where you could turn the rings on and off, I was like, I've had enough now. You can just do it for me.
What about you, Chris? Did you do them? So just to describe them for the audio podcast, it's basically like a bunch of lasers that you need to like link up with receptacles, and you've got to spin them round, and they can be blocked off, but they get quite complex at the end. And I struggle with them. What about you, Chris?
So first playthrough, I did them all by hand. I figured them all out. But I've also done loads of them already. So like a lot of the patterns are really similar. So once you've done him a bunch, you're just like, oh, I remember this one. It's like in this shape. The Clank puzzles, I also kind of knew the answer to, again, because I played this game loads. But I did actually, the first time I played this again at the beginning of Feb, where I did get stuck on one of the Clank puzzles in the spaceship.
Where you're the same one.
Yeah, you've just hidden away from Victor Von Iron. You've got to rotate the platform. Yeah. And you have to do the, like, the puzzle of, like, oh, you've got a bag of grain and a fox and a hen, and you've got to move. I was just trying to work out. I couldn't figure out how to move them into the same place.
I know the puzzle you're talking about, but I didn't get stuck in it, but that was the first one where I didn't look at it and be like, oh, here are the steps I got to do. I had to. Yeah, I think I kind of lucked it by chance that they all ended on the right side for me.
And the whole time Clank's going like, this has something to do with the rotating device. I was like, I know. Shut up.
It's annoying when they give hints before you're ready for them. I'm like, no, like I can do it. It's a kid's game. I can do it. And then the other bits you play as Clank is the kind of running to the screen while being chased by a robot, and I think those moments kind of overstay their welcome.
Yeah,
they're pretty.
Especially the second time around when you're running around the ship from him, and you have to do that like 3 times, and in between each one you have to do a different Clank puzzle. Like that whole chunk, I think, is like my least favorite chunk of the whole game.
Yeah, it hurts the pacing.
Yeah,
and I missed the door.
Ratchet back.
Like you have someone in the radio, they're like, I'm going to open a door, and I missed it, and I ran past it, and she's like, it's all right, you can go round on your next go, and you're so slow, like running, and I don't go all the way around to get back in again.
I do like Clank though; he's quite cool, isn't he?
He's a cute little dude.
He's a cute little guy. He's confident. I like that about him. He's really confident for a little robot.
I like his little laugh. He's like, it sounds like Scooby-Doo.
I love his voice as well. I mean, all of the characters are quite endearing in this. I felt like the villain struggled in this game in terms of I feel like they didn't get enough airtime, and it wasn't really until the end I understood, or I think it's only at the end when it's explained what they're trying to do and why we're trying to stop them. Did you feel that, Ollie?
So the villain, Nefarious, and he had a little mate with a ponytail.
Yeah.
Chairman
and
Drek.
Also, spoilers, Captain Quark was also a villain. And it was a bit like, I don't really know what's going on with these three. Until they were like, this guy never had a planet, so he's trying to make his own one. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. But that was literally within the last, hour.
Yeah. Like, it's very much, it feels like the story, and this isn't even really a big complaint, because it didn't really detract anything, because it's still enjoyable, but, most of the story was just objectives. Like, the planet of the story would be get the jetpack, get the gadget, protect the thing, but nothing else story-wise happens. That's kind of just it. It's very just much do thing to thing to thing, but it once again the characters that are doing it are entertaining enough, and the dialogue's good enough. It doesn't really detract anything. And if anything, if they were really trying to push a bad story down your throat, I think that would have actually detracted. And I guess for you as well, Chris, if you are going to keep replaying it, the fact that stuff is kind of quite brief probably makes it a bit more pleasant when you're going through again.
Yeah, and all skippable, which I appreciate. Even on the first time round, you can just skip the cutscenes if you want to, which I didn't do first time around because I was like, I want to relive this again and get used to it. But yeah, on second and third and fourth playthrough, you're like, I'm skipping those immediately. There's a lot of craft.
I didn't go back and do any of the bonus hoverboard racing. I did the one that you had to do, the two that you had to do. Then I was like, I don't need to go back and do. I don't think I did any. I did one side mission. Can't remember which one it was. So I think I might have missed some weapons as well.
You would have missed 2 weapons, that you get from the side mission stuff: the Predator launcher and the Rhino.
I definitely got the Predator launcher. Didn't get the Rhino.
Which one's the? Was that the one where you lock on and then fire? Yeah, I got that, but I didn't get the Rhino either. So. Yeah.
You'd have to be so lucky to get the Rhino on just casually playing through the first time, because you have to get the Rhino. You have to collect these holo cards. So they're they drop from enemies, or you find them in hidden areas or whatever. So you have to find a whole bunch of those, a whole set down to the bottom. But you don't know that you need to find them until after you've gone past a couple. So the first handful, you have to just chance that you find them. And then a few planets in, a dude's like, hey, find me the cards, I'll get you a Rhino. And then you'd figure it out. But that's what the second
normal conversation. Oh yeah, I met that guy in Sainsbury's too.
I guess you could always fly back, couldn't you?
For some of them, if you're really dedicated to go do it.
Yeah, but then you're just going through a basically empty level and just it's not as fun, I guess. There are some other they vary up the gameplay quite nicely. I love a grind rail section in a game, and this game did not disappoint me. There's some quite elaborate ones where you can switch and go multiple routes, and you feel like you're going to be losing track, but I always felt like I ended up kind of getting somewhere new, and you're hitting things and jumping over. And then there was also jetpack levels as well.
Yeah,
there's one specific level, and then some boss fights with the jetpack. Sounds like you, Ollie, enjoyed the jetpack as well.
Finding the brains. That was the best. That was my favourite bit of the game. I love that mission. Even though you only had to find 6, and then you had to find 20, didn't you? But I was like, there's another guy over there. There's another one of those giant things. Like, I went over to him. Like, and also the boss. I think it's because the jetpack. It's so much easier in the jetpack because you literally just fly around your target, and then you can really just let loose of everything you've got, rather than being on the ground and having to like flip and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you could literally just fly overhead. But yeah, the jetpack parts and the spaceship parts, love them both. Great. I could play a whole game with the spaceship bits. They're so good.
Yeah. Do you enjoy them as well, Chris, or were you looking forward to getting back on the ground?
I think they're fine in this. I think so in the second and third games, those parts are really expanded to like you're not just necessarily in an on rails area. You've got like a wide area, like an Ace Combat style, like really wide area for you to fly around in and like do slightly different objectives in different parts of the map. I think they're way better. That you can like upgrade your ship a bunch as well in those ones. So like coming from that, the first one is like they're really good, but you can see where they're like they haven't quite built on top of it yet to where it could be. So I think they're fine. I find them really easy. I find the spaceship bits like very, very easy. The whole game's not super hard, but like especially easy for the spaceship bits. So I tend to just be like, well, I'll get through them and then I'm back. I just want to be my man Ratchet, you know?
I think another good example of the way they just they know it's a video game and they're not ashamed of it is when it's like you got to shoot like these big missiles to take out these big ships, and they're like, oh shoot the little ships to get your missiles back, and it's like, but they don't even try and come up with any like to capture their energy. It's just like, if you destroy 5 of these, you shoot the big one because that's what would make it fun and a bit of a challenge, and no attempt to do any loose explanation. It's like, it's a video game. Like,
just a box of rockets just falls out of the ship and into yours, and you're like, cool, fine.
Because most games they'll try and tie something in or have something go to it. They're just like, we'll let you fire a big rocket again if you just shoot 5 of those other ships. It's like, okay, I'll do that. That sounds fun. Can we talk about the graphics a bit? Because when this game came out, it was kind of lauded as like one of the best looking games, of the time. I think it was kind of right around when like PlayStation Pro and stuff was kind of coming out as well. Yeah. And then now Rift Apart, the sequel to this, the PlayStation 5 exclusive, once again is kind of probably one of the best looking games I've played.
Stunning.
Do you think like do you think it matters how good this game looks, Chris? Like, does that is that a
not
factor?
Really. Like visually, it is stunning, and I appreciate that it's stunning. I like that. I like looking at pretty things, but like I don't think it matters. Like what matters more with the remake is that they included a bunch of the like mechanical changes that they put into like the PS3 games that just made it nicer to play.
Yeah,
they put those in like the original story. But
what about you, Ollie? Because you said you were quite impressed.
Yeah, so like not only does it look great, the amount of stuff that's going on. Like all the little screws and bolts you're picking up, they're flying into you. Like, when you make a whole sea of them, and then you jetpack through it, and all that.
Yeah,
like, it's just amazing.
I feel like most games cheat that. They'll have some will start fading away, or they'll group up and stuff. But like this game, it's like
I was trying to find the cheat, so I was looking at them like, are these just like GIFs, like flat GIFs? I don't think they are. I think they're actual 3D objects that fly.
And you would have snapped the disc if they were, was it?
Yeah.
Is that what you would have done?
I would have been like, I'm so lazy!
It's all a lie!
How dare they? No, the game looks amazing. Like, to the point where I think sometimes the game actually looks better than the cutscenes. Like, the cutscenes have a kind of weird, especially Captain Quark looks kind of weird.
Yeah, maybe that's like an artistic thing. Well, I think no, because they actually use the same models, character models across both. So I think it is just the way they've done the lighting and stuff. Yeah. Maybe then
I feel like Captain Quark looks too lifelike, but he looks weird in the film.
Yeah.
Whereas in the game, he looks like he's in the game, so it's kind of fine.
I think I do prefer the cutscenes in Rift Apart more than the film clips, because I was thinking about it. I was like, how big of a jump is it? Because I was playing this game and it looks amazing. Then I went back to Rift Apart just to have another look at it. And it is quite a huge jump, actually. But the fact that I kind of forgot when I went back to the old one shows that it doesn't really matter that much. Like, we've got, like, I feel like this could be almost be a landmark game of once games reach this good, it's fine. Like, anything else here is like nice, but like the fact that the Rift Apart's got ray tracing and it is even more detailed and shiny, and like the lighting and the shadows and stuff, like the second you get into like frenetic gameplay, like it for readability it just doesn't matter at all. Like we've done it, guys, we're there.
For me that was a PS2. Doesn't need to be better than that.
The peak graphical performance.
Final Fantasy X, Silent Hill 2, Yeah, and 3 and 4, they look great. They look fine. I'm happy with that.
I think what it is like the amount of work they would have to do to make those games look good, like because of how limited the process, all of the tricks, all of the gifts that they have to do, and all of the flat bushes that just face you as you walk around them. Like, I feel like it was a lot of work to make those games look good, whereas now you could have an indie developer could like use, load up Unreal or something and make something that looks better and just brute force it now, which I think is good.
Tell you where it kind of the rift apart, and also playing the remake on the PS5 kind of stands apart. Is on the PS5 the remake is at 60 FPS. They put like a little patch out that bumps it up, and in this game I think that genuinely makes a really nice difference because there's so much going on. Like being able to have it run that smoothly is like super nice, especially
so I played on PS5 as well. I didn't know that there was a patch. So I had previously played this game on PS4, so I actually did on my other YouTube channel I'd done a series playing through it, but I kept getting copyright takedowns from the cutscenes, the film clips, because obviously there's some deal, and it even comes up every time it loads into one of those cutscenes. At least on PS5, I'm sure it does on PS4. It comes up saying like recording like unavailable, so you can't capture clips of it, which is also another thing that really makes them kind of stand out. In the end I was like, I can't carry on doing this Let's Play of this series and not do any of the cutscenes. Then I think I had a technical error and I lost a couple episodes, and I was like, right, I'm just going to stop it. So like, it's one of the few series where I began a series and didn't finish it, but then I was enjoying the game enough. I completed it. I carried on playing it for fun back then as well. But that was my first time playing it, was doing a Let's Play on it.
We got a lot of comments about that, so they'll be happy that you've at least addressed it. It's not coming back, guys. It's not ever getting finished. It's never getting finished
in those videos as well.
But there you go. That's why.
Something else we haven't spoken about, which is kind of weird, it's not come up yet, is the music, because it's so good.
I don't remember a single song.
I'll be honest with you, I don't really remember any specific bit of music. I think it's great scene setting. I don't remember a specific bit of music.
Do you know why you don't?
Because it's so good.
Because you're idiots. Yeah. You're uncultured swine.
I've got no ears.
It's because it's too quiet. So I turned the sound effects completely dwarf it, and it's the type of music because it's so like everything's big. All the songs, like it's such like I don't know, the sound stage. I don't know the terming, like, and you need to hear it more prominently. So I turned all of the other sound effects down and like the dialogue down a bit as well. And I got some notes about specific songs. So the bit where you're riding on the train, you're running on the back of it going through the city.
Mm-hmm. I do remember that.
It's just James Bond.
It sounds like James Bond, yeah.
Yeah. And then the next level is dubstep. And
Lovely.
then the best song is when you're grinding on the rails because it's just so intense and crazy. When you're doing the laser puzzles, it's just Mass Effect. And then when you're doing the space battles, it's Pirates of the Caribbean.
Good.
It's so varied. If you look up the official soundtrack and listen through it, I think you'll think, oh god, this music's so good. But it's so hard to notice in the games. It's just too quiet. I think it's just mixed just poorly.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing any of it. Ever. I remember the James Bond one, actually, now you mentioned it, but apart from that.
Yeah, it's way too quiet.
I remember the Mass Effect one. As soon as you mentioned that, because it's got that like Mass Effect map noise, right? They're like do
that kind of synthy like lo-fi, which I did appreciate, but like so like to the point where I think all of my examples I gave, if this music was put in those properties, no one would like flinch. Like it's so close to them. But yeah, I love the music. But I had like I think sound effects on 6 and music on like 10 to get it to how and well still without it overpowering the sound effects. I think that's just kind of what default should be. But yeah, no, I did really like it.
Cool.
So kind of with the film thing. Like I think it's a really like I don't think it was done great apart from maybe like what was the game the Remedies game
Quantum Break?
where they had the Quantum Break
TV
that's
show.
the only other example I can think of such a direct mix between like films, TV shows and games. Is there any other franchise you think that would work really well?
Enter the Matrix.
Oh yeah,
that was literally linked to the Matrix plot, wasn't it?
Of course, on PS2.
And the character from Enter the Matrix was in the Matrix.
Yeah, it worked great, didn't it?
No.
No, for like obviously like the Matrix sequels and that game was whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking it's so cool, thinking like because those characters weren't huge in the films.
No, and they send them off somewhere, and then that's where the game comes in.
Like, but I feel like that was done better than this, right?
Well, this is...
To be honest with you, until you guys brought it up and I saw some comments, I didn't realise that they were clips from the film.
Oh, really?
I just thought the game is like a reboot, and the reboot is the retelling of how this guy remembers it so they can change it a bit. And I was like, that's pretty clever. And then I saw some comments coming in like, oh yeah, it's clips from the film. And I was like, oh, is it? I didn't even notice.
Yeah. It's a little of both. It is, so like when the reason that they have like Quark narrating this whole thing is so that they can sort of just make a slightly different story to the movie, because even the people making it didn't really like the story of the movie. So they just went like, no, we'll make a new story and we'll just like cut some clips in here and there.
So the story of the film is not the story of the game.
Not exactly. They're similar, but there's lots of bits that are like tweaked and changed. Like you're meant to think of Quark as like exaggerating it a bit or like hiding the other bits of it. It's like kind of the effect they're going for, right?
It's much more of like a found footage horror type film.
It's a document. It's a sports documentary.
It's an uplifting baseball tale about this.
Clank wants to be a baseball bat. And Ratchet is going to fulfill his dreams.
This is a Skid McMarks documentary.
Oh dear. Is this so? I think, as I said, for me and Ollie, it was such a great jumping on point. Is this your favourite style of remake, Chris? Where it's like they take a lot of liberties and they just take the essence of the original, but then make a new game, or would you prefer something more like faithful?
No, I kind of. It's tricky because I've played a handful of remakes recently. I played the Resident Evil 2 remake. That's really good, and that's very different to the original Resident Evil 2. But I think it does really well because of that. And then the Mass Effect ones, which are very similar, they just look way prettier.
Yeah,
I think it depends on the game, right? Like,
I guess the further back the game you're remaking, the more you need to do. Like, say if they were going to remake, like BioShock Infinite. Like, I mean, like, all you're going to do is just make it more shiny, you're not really going to change much. But I guess once you kind of get back to like... But then again, I think there is kind of a middle ground where you think of like the Link's Awakening, the Game Boy game remake, where they overhauled the graphics, but the gameplay is hugely faithful to the Game Boy original. So I guess it is doable, but it's kind of interesting to see, the way it's kind of tackled here.
They definitely... I haven't played that remake, but I'm assuming they make use of the other buttons on the Switch, not just A and B. So they must have changed something because the game only had 2 face buttons, right? So
they do like some quality of life stuff, but like in terms of like level design and like dungeon design and stuff, like that stuff is mostly faithful, for the good and the bad of it. Is there any more? Oh, sorry, Chris.
I was gonna say, I think I actually do really vibe with when they add a bunch of nice quality of life stuff. Like, I can't imagine replaying the actual original PS2 Ratchet and Clank. Mechanically, it's just we've learned so much about how to make better games.
It can't be as mad, right? I can't have as many enemies, or surely not.
I think it's got as many enemies. I don't think it has as many like particles, as many like bits going on and effects and stuff like that, like at all. Like with the sheepinator, the amount of like bits that fly out of the sheep when you turn an enemy into a sheep, I don't think is anywhere near as nice.
Right.
Yeah, less sheep bits. Yeah, I remember reading the reviews at the time saying not enough sheep bits. That was the was the big drawback. Oh dear. Any comments, Ollie?
About remakes?
Well, just about anything.
Okay.
Any that you
because I've got something that I've been thinking about, struggling to put into words. You might have to help me.
Okay.
What I don't understand, right? This game, it's really good. It reviews well, like not 10 out of 10s, but 8s, 9s. Amazing production values. Why is the Ratchet and Clank series not like thought of in the same way as like the other PlayStation exclusives? Like, why does no one like they kind of wash over people? Whereas like Horizon comes out and everyone's like, oh my god, you gotta get Horizon, like it's so good. And then Ratchet and Clank comes out and people are like,
it's because it's seen as a kid's game, right? That's what it is, Chris.
But it's been out for so long that I feel like the people that played it when they were kids should now still be
I think they are. I think it's like sad 30-year-old men like me. So like we're not shouting about it so much. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's because it's seen as like a kids game. Even though like a lot of the humor really isn't. Like it is kind of, there's lots of like toilet humor, but there's also they chuck in a handful of like, more adult themes in there every now and then. And like I don't know, I think it plays well. I think it's just some games just don't get the love they deserve. I don't think
I think it's not it's not pushing against any boundaries. I think like it's not like even I know we spoke about it a lot, but the Rift Apart, the newest one, the PlayStation 5 one, in in a lot of ways the way like the SSD lets it load quickly so you can jump between levels and stuff. But in terms of like core gameplay, like it hasn't evolved loads since at least the PS3 games, and it's got the graphics have got better and the amount of things on screen and stuff like they've been chiseling. I feel like they're chiseling down to make something more beautiful rather than adding more stuff like to it. And so I think maybe when a game like Horizon or Elden Ring, which are recent releases as we're recording this, I feel like they're trying to push to like the next level of games, whereas like I feel like Ratchet and Clank isn't trying to do that. They just want it to be really fun. That's their goal. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Yeah,
they're consistent, right? Like they're consistently 75, 80 games, 7.5, 8 out of 10s. They've never been like 10 out of 10s.
Yeah,
they've never had that huge drop, but they're consistently pretty good. So when you're like,
well, yeah, so this is it. Like I was playing it and I was thinking like, why are people not going mental over this series? Like, why is it not as huge as like Uncharted or any of the big kind of PlayStation franchises? But I guess you've answered the question, which is they're not rehashing it. That's not what I want to say, but they're kind of sticking to what they know.
Yeah,
because it works.
No, I think they are. I think you're right. They're rehashing what the other games. They like layer on it and they add bits. And it's very iterative. And like each game, you get more weapons or like a handful of new mechanics, 1 or 2 mechanics. But you very rarely get like a complete overhaul where it's totally changed and it's never trying to like say anything interesting, right? Like you look at some of the other games where it's like Elden Ring is like we're trying to like think how you do open world storytelling. Like they've got some of that cool stuff that you can like chat about and pretend you're knowledgeable about like to your mates in the pub, but like Ratchet and Clank is just like just tell a fun story for kids.
And it's not like there's a very limited range of emotions it can make you feel like. I know we keep going back to Elden Ring. I was literally playing it right before the podcast, but like the amount of emotions are from like fear and trepidation to like pride and like amazement and curiosity. All of these emotions it makes me feel makes it stay with me more. Whereas Ratchet and Clank, I was never like not having fun really, apart from some of those laser puzzles that I was too stubborn to autofill. But like the emotions were like fun, if that enjoyment, and then like a bit of comedy, like laughter, but none of them are particularly strong emotions that stay with you. And I think maybe that's kind of held it back, a little bit in terms of, not sales or people enjoying the game, but just like it doesn't stick around in conversations because I don't know, maybe we're proving that here. Maybe there's just not that much to talk about other than it's great.
Well, the thing is as well is I thought it would be super popular among kids with the film and everything, but like the fact of the matter is it just doesn't sell that many copies despite being like a AAA. I don't know, it was a mystery to me until you pointed it out. I was literally sitting there like, what? I feel like I found a hidden game.
I think it's the like DreamWorks versus Pixar, right? Like Pixar is always like a peak emotion somewhere that is like, and you always have like this very strong response to it. And DreamWorks movies are often just like, they're a good laugh. It's they're quite simple in a lot of ways, but I don't know, that's why I like it. It's old faithful,
Yeah. Quite sparse releases as well recently as well. Like you look through, obviously games were easier to make back then for the most part, but there used to be kind of a game every year for a long time, kind of PS2, PS3 era. Then there was, a big gap until this game, and then a gap of 2 or 3 years until Rift Apart. Whereas if you look at the games of an older era that have sustained, like Mario games and Sonic and stuff, which are still very popular with kids, Pokemon games, that I feel like there's normally a new product every year, whether that be a film or a spin-off or a main game series.
Should we do some of these questions? I've got so many.
Just pick. You don't have to do all of them. Just pick the ones that are interesting.
Don't worry.
Group them up.
There was one person that commented that was very enthusiastic about the series, so I feel like we need to do theirs. Okay, so the name is Zephyrric14. Chris, I'm going to put this to you. For those who know more of the entire saga, do you guys think this remake could have the same impact for this generation as it did in the old times?
No, I don't think so, unfortunately. Because, like, similar to what we were just chatting about, right? Like, it's a good game. It is a good game, but there are a lot of incredible games out right now, especially if you're, like, a younger generation, you're just coming in. Like, look at a bunch of the, like, new Mario games that have come out. Look at, like, Odyssey and Mario Kart, the recent... those ones, they're very, very good. I think they're better than this game. I love this game, but they're better games. So I don't think so. I think for the same reason we mentioned, they just don't hit quite as hard.
Why do you keep playing this game, Chris? Why do you keep? I still can't believe you like played it that many times in like 1 month. Like why? Because there's not been a drought of games.
He wanted to be on. He couldn't wait. He wanted to learn the game inside out to talk about it on the podcast.
I mean, but so. Yeah, I played it a lot this time round, but I've actually in total completed this game like 13, 14 times or something like that.
What?
Like,
You've completed it?
Yeah. When it first released on PS4, I bought it and I completed it like 4 times. Then when I got my PS5, I downloaded, because it's in the collection. It's in the PS5 collection, like Sony collection. So I downloaded it.
If it's in the collection, you've got to play it 5 times. That's the rule.
Well, I did it like in the collection. Yeah, I did it 3-4 times then. Then when they
do you
60
regularly
FPS
replay
patch,
games? Because I very rarely will replay a game.
This is the only one. This is the only game that I replay like regularly.
No,
most games I don't even finish. Like, only
you don't have time. You don't have time to finish other games.
Finishing Ratchet.
So is it just like the completionist of like leveling it up, or like is it just you want a blast of that gunplay? Like why?
I think it does. So actually, to talk about another game real quick, I've been playing a great game called Vampire Survivors. I think Ollie's been playing it as well.
What a game that is.
Yeah,
so
it's
good. You played it, Joe? You played it with us?
Yeah, no, I've played it.
Yeah. So it's just, I think it triggers a very similar part of my brain, right? Where it's just like, there's a lot of stuff going on, lots of numbers ticking up. So like, you always feel like you're progressing something. Like every time you restart the game, there's more levels to grow, and they happen quite regularly as you do it. And like, you can never do all of them in the same run unless you like hang around and like grind a level, which I think would be wild. Don't do that. Just finish the game and start it again, you know? So like, I think it's just constantly ticking stuff up and just like tickling the bit of my brain that feels good about that. So then I just plus because I know it so well, I can just veg out and have a good time with it.
I actually got big Dead Rising vibes from it for the same reason. Yeah, like Dead Rising 2 kind of had that same thing, didn't it? Where like you play through it and you keep all your stuff and it's just chaos and there's hundreds of enemies and you can upgrade your weapons, and I was like, that was actually my closest touch point to this game. I was thinking, it's kind of like Dead Rising 2.
Yeah, and there's no like the upper limit doesn't seem too far away, and like you get new stuff quite regularly, so it just feels quite good. So I think that's why.
Okay, another question. This is a good one. This is from ACup001. I'd like to hear your opinions on Ratchet and Clank versus Jack and Daxter in the early 2000s. Games are really similar because they're action-adventure games where you're accompanied by a small and helpful ally. Also, of course, which one do you prefer now?
Well,
who's that too?
Well, do you know what, Joe? You take it, mate.
Okay, well, so I played the original Jack, who was accompanied by Daxter. The original one, I loved that. That's that's probably one of my favorite old school platforming games, like of that era. Like collecting all the whatever they were, those ore
chocolate
things.
Eggs.
They're like golden egg things, weren't
they? They look like Easter eggs.
Yeah, so like that original one, and the graphics on it, I reckon like probably one of the best looking PS2 games. Super underrated what they did. I loved it. And then the 2 and 3 were mixed Ratchet and Clank with GTA, and even though there's some bits in the original levels I enjoy, but it got very gunplay and vehicle focused, and like that wasn't what I was there for. I was there for like the platforming. So out of all Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, I have fondest memories of Jack and Daxter 1. but that's childhood, rainbow glasses, memories.
It was like GTA 3 came out, and then Naughty Dog were like, "Oh, we should do that."
Yeah. Well, what franchise should we do GTA in? Are we doing a new one? No, we got the little fluffy guy and the big-eared guy. It's fine.
Didn't they just call it Jack?
Yeah, it's like Jack 2 and Jack 3. And
then there was a racing one, wasn't there?
Yeah, and then there was a really good PSP Daxter game, which is just Daxter, which was really, really good as well. Probably one of the best looking PSP games.
That's Naughty Dog, isn't it?
Turns out they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Chris?
did you play Jak and Daxter, Chris?
Yeah.
I played the first Jak and Daxter, and I think I got like an hour in, and I was like, it's not Ratchet and Clank, and I went and played Ratchet and Clank again.
How big was that pile of games in the corner of your room that you're marking on the cases, not just in case you got the disc in the wrong case? You're just ruling every game out.
Yeah, moving it up and down the pile.
It was like everyone in your little village turning up with a game, like all lining up out the side door. Like your mum, like, we can't get him off Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, I hope this game's Ratchet and Clank.
Nah, I don't know. It was fine, but I think I always felt like, and this is maybe just me being like a real pretentious little kid, like I always felt like Jak and Daxter was the one that like took itself so seriously, and I was like, I'm not a serious kid, I'm the fun kid, so I play Ratchet and Clank.
I was a very serious kid, and it really appealed to my sensibilities. Did you play Jak and Daxter 2? It's Jak 2.
I didn't play it, I experienced it. I lived it. Okay, let's make this the last question. I'm going to roll 2 questions into one here. So, Leomardo 39, great username.
That's my mate. You met him.
Is it?
Yeah, that's Liam. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, you tell him I say great username. I'm sure he'll watch. But
I told him to write in because he's obsessed with Ratchet and Clank, and I was like, I know you don't listen to the podcast, but we're doing Ratchet and Clank. You've got to write something in. So maybe you listen to this one.
Josh Wingfield as well wrote in, basically both about the 2016 version feeling like it loses some of the charm, and the fact that they condensed it down and switched the main villain, and also wondered what your thoughts are on the characters, more specifically Captain Quark, because I found him to be charming and funny. He was too charming and funny to become unlikable despite what happens in the game, which I actually agree. I don't think any of the characters are unlikable because it's like a kid's.
Yeah, even the villains are like, they're fun villains, right? Like you don't necessarily hate them. That's the thing that also mentioned. So like Dr. Nefarious isn't in the original. He's just not there. He's not introduced for like, I think it's the 3rd game they introduce him, and then he becomes kind of like the primary villain of the series. But like, I think they went with the movie, they like rejigged a bunch of stuff, right, to like try and get new people into the story. So you had to put who the new main villain is now in there. I don't know. I think it was. I've lost track of the question. What do you ask?
That they changed. That they changed the villain from the original, and
they condensed it a bit, and it's. I don't think it loses too much. I feel like what they condensed out was kind of craft anyway. Like I don't remember any of it, and I played this game loads, so it's like
the villains actually gave me big Oddworld vibes, especially that little guy on the bike. Design. He looks like an Oddworld character.
Yeah, because they got like their suits, don't they? Like their big shoulders. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
We should do an Oddworld. When I was a little kid, that game made me cry.
What Odyssey or Exodus?
Odyssey. I was so empathetic towards the Madokans and their plight, and then obviously because I was a little kid, I got the bad ending. So
I'm super worried that's aged badly. Those games. I bet those controls feel horrible now.
Well, they remade them, didn't they? They remade 2 of them.
Oh yeah, thing of taste bigger and tastier. Was it Big and Tasty? Was it called? What was it called?
It's called
Save me! Someone save me! Someone jump in!
I thought it was called like Freshly Squeezed or something.
I swear. What are you talking about?
The Abe's Odyssey remake.
Tasty.
I don't remember.
I got a poster of it. I met one of the developers of it. No, New and Tasty. That's what it's called.
New and Tasty. That's
I met one of the developers at an event, and I got a signed poster that I've still not got around to putting out, but I always intend to. So maybe if we do it, I can have it up behind me.
And the trailer for the new one, I don't know if that was a remake of it. It was really cool. Anyway,
it started as a remake of Exodus, and then they ended up growing it into his own. Does it like sand, storm sand, sandy, sandy, tasty, tasty sand,
tasty sand,
new and sandy.
Brew Storm? Is it Brew Storm? I don't know.
Brew Storm?
I think it's
anyway. Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank, yeah.
I remember Abe feeling really heavy when I played those games.
Mate, he's got
really
the world
hard
on his
to
shoulders,
stop.
man. He's got the world on his shoulders. He's got the same for Dockers. That guy, mate, I
So
feel
much
for him.
response.
He's such a good little dude.
They did like
Good
the
on him.
original Prince of Persia thing with like really detailed animation that looked great, but probably doesn't feel very nice nowadays.
Yeah. By the way, when I said I cried at it, I was like 5. Just so anyone.
That's okay.
And you trapped your finger when you're closing the disc.
Yeah. I was like, no, I remember my mum was like asking what I was crying for, and I literally could not explain to her.
I see why you like Jack and Daxter. Games are art. Games are art.
Yeah. It's like, Mum, I'm an empath.
Luckily, you got your plasters stuck on all your game discs ready. For those that watched the Harry Potter episode, Ollie had to put plasters on his game disc to try and get it to work, and it didn't work.
That was actually something I wanted to bring up. In that episode, you mentioned how like the movie and the game came out at like the same time, and the same is true of Ratchet and Clank 2016. Like it was delayed so that they would both come out at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like it has to because it's
the opposite of Harry Potter was that they rushed it out.
Yeah, and it shows.
Yeah, we can see which way around works best.
Yeah. Is it time?
Yeah, should we put this on our list?
Chris actually has access to the list.
I do have access.
But I won't
to
have
the
any.
list.
I won't have any playing around. No moving things around.
I got access
just
to.
gonna watch.
I'm normally just an observer, but I've logged in now, so I can I can fight more forcefully.
Oh dear. Well, I'm gonna take control. Okay. Oh, computer doesn't like this. There's a lot of noise. Right. Let's do this. So, Chris, where would actually? Do you know what? I'll quickly read through the list for the audio listeners. So starting at the bottom, number 8, we've got Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. 7 is Onimusha. 6 is Max Payne. 5 is The Forgotten City. 4 is Halo Infinite. 3 is Ooblets. 2 is Doom. And number 1 is Disco Elysium. Chris, this is your game. Where would you put Ratchet and Clank?
On this list?
Yeah.
Always hard. I would put it, for me,
Yeah.
with this list as it exists, I think the only game on this list that I like more than Ratchet and Clank is Disco Elysium. So for me, this would be a number 2 game.
Straight in
Which
there.
I know is wild because you've got Doom and then Halo and Forgotten City under it.
That is wild. Yeah.
But yeah, I preferred playing this game over any. And admittedly, I haven't played the Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets, but vicariously through you, I feel like it almost definitely is better.
Well, you'll never know until you play it.
That's the one you can't commit to put it over because you haven't played. So just in case, put Harry Potter above. You never know.
Well, I think you have
But
actually.
Harry Potter
you have,
in one.
Except for Onimusha, I think you have actually played all these games, haven't you?
But Harry Potter's got more beans.
More beans, 30 bucks every flavoured bean.
I feel like this is going to be a common thing with our guests always wanting to have that. I mean, people are generally going to pick their games they love, so I feel like it's just going to be we're inviting guests on to disappoint them. Because,
No.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Ooblets is third.
I've completed this game more times than you have games on the list. Like, of course, I'm going to want to put it near the top.
You completed this game more than I've completed any other game in my life, like all games. Right, what are you thinking then, Ollie? Let's come and see where you are.
Probably either here, so between Ooblets and Halo Infinite, or between Halo Infinite and the Forgotten City.
Are you saying that this your second option for me? Or did you prefer Halo over Ratchet and Clank?
I didn't prefer Halo over Ratchet and Clank, but I don't know. Putting it in 4th feels a bit weird. It feels a little bit too high.
I mean, the numbers don't matter, do I mean
they matter to me.
It's just from the conversations. It sounded like you were much hotter on this game than Halo.
Oh yeah, I thought the game was really good, but at the same time, I did have that niggling feeling where I was like, am I missing something, or is something missing from this game? Like, why is it not massive? There must be something. And
it's just our enjoyment of the game. It's not like
yeah, but I feel like in my enjoyment there was something missing.
Okay,
there was a little something that really should have tied it together, and it didn't. And I thought that was the reason that it wasn't massive.
Yeah,
was because there was something about it that was a little bit.
I think it might be how safe it plays it. Like for Halo Infinite, both of us didn't enjoy the campaign, but like the multiplayer. But it felt like it was trying to be something new and different. Whereas I think Ratchet and Clank, it's very, very, very good and very polished, but it is same again almost, with minor improvements, and maybe that's what it is. It's not very ambitious, like gameplay mechanically wise.
Did you have that as well? Did you have that as well? Where there was something about it where I was like, it's really good. I can see it's good. Something's not quite hitting right. I don't know what it is.
Me?
Yeah. I mean, Chris obviously didn't.
Yeah, don't ask me. I love it.
I don't know. Like, I think because I'd played it before and then had played Rift Apart, this playthrough, which is kind of what I'm thinking about, I kind of just knew fully what I was in for. So I guess maybe my expectations kind of were in check there. So actually, by the end, there was a few fights in the game where I was just like, I'm having so much fun. When you're really switched between the weapons and stuff, and it's all working together. I was like, I think this is the most... Some of the times when I played this, I think was my peak fun of any Ratchet and Clank above Rift Apart and my first playthrough of this game. Like when I got a bit better at it.
You learned how to use the weapon wheel.
Yeah, that's what it is. When I learned the controls of the game, when I held the controller the right way up.
I got to like the 4th level before I realised you could jump. I still loved it. I was just like, oh, what does this button do? The X button? Give that a go.
maybe they don't explain the controls very well. Maybe it's not just me.
So, actually, I'd put them right next to each other, like that.
Okay,
but I can't.
That's allowed. I think for me, I think I'm thinking of against Forgotten City, and it's so hard because they're so different games. But I mean, I enjoyed Ratchet and Clank more than the Forgotten City. Once again, it's back to the Forgotten City. I think is more ambitious and trying something, at least when they started making it new. It was like every game's doing time loops now. But I think the Forgotten City is more interesting as a game.
It's got something to say, right? Like it's trying to make it misses the mark sometimes, but it's got commentary. It's got like themes in there. It's trying to say something.
Like I feel like I could chat to my dad about the Forgotten City, and he'd have some interest. But then if I start trying to chat about Ratchet and Clank, I was like, there's a gun, it's a laser, you can turn people into sheep, and then the other one makes them dance, like, I feel like he'd be like, yep, that's what I assumed all video games are.
It's like about a cat man and his robot friend.
Yeah. It's like,
I remember actually a funny story, an ex-girlfriend's dad, he was like, oh, you play video games, do you? I was like, yeah. And he was like, why do you want to shoot cops then? And I was like, what? Like, he thought every video game was like GTA.
Oh, bless.
He didn't realise it was Mario, a coincidence that you wanted to shoot cops and nothing to do with the video games you play.
What gave you that idea?
He's like, right, you're nicked. He's a cop.
Yeah. He was. That's why he brought it up.
No, I think I'd put it above the Forgotten. Yeah, I think I would go one under Halo. I'd go with option B from you,
So
Ollie.
you're still fighting for Halo, are you? How's that going? You still playing it?
So yeah, I was actually thinking about that the other day.
Because they delayed the co-op again, didn't they?
Yeah, my big argument with Halo was that, I'm going to keep playing it for years. Probably played it about like twice since I said that in the podcast. But I'm almost certain, like when they add, because they haven't added anything, they haven't really updated. They're in season 1 still, whatever. I'm pretty sure.
Have you seen season 2?
No,
it's 2 maps. That's it.
I mean, I'll play them. Like I do think I'll go back, but.
Mate,
I'll be honest, it hasn't held my and not just me, like the player base has really dropped off that game. Yeah. And I feel like it hasn't held my attention as much as I would thought. But that hasn't changed, but I played it for like a good, I don't know, like 50 hours of multiplayer or something. So it's not like I've, I got my enjoyment from it. But personally I would put Ratchet and Clank under it, but I'm like the Halo guy, so that's not really surprising.
How many times did you complete Halo Infinite though?
Once begrudgingly.
I feel like we should do the right thing and move Forgotten City above Halo.
No, where's it? I wasn't prepared for this argument.
Chris, where do you think Halo Infinite should go? Because you finished it, didn't you?
I finished the campaign. I didn't play any of the multiplayer. But
I'm only talking. I didn't like the campaign. All of my arguments are just on multiplayer. So
that's fair. I would put Halo Infinite like at the bottom and just disregard it in the list. Figure the rest out.
Harry Potter game I haven't played.
Well, I think Harry Potter game's still got potential to be fun. I've never played it. I know Halo Infinite is garbage.
Now I've got someone here. I feel like now's the time we need to move it down. I've got backup.
He invites his mate on the podcast just to gang up on me.
I text Chris and I was like, I think we can get him to move it down.
This is planned. Oh, an ambush.
Mate, it's time. Wait,
what do you think? I want to be fair for what I feel like us as a group are, and I got to admit my hype for Halo has subsided a bit just because I was actively playing it when I recorded the podcast. So I want to be fair here, but I don't want to move it.
Forgotten City is continuing to be the barometer, and every time we always compare it to Forgotten City, so it needs to have some respect on its name and move up.
Tell you what. I will let you put Forgotten City above Halo. Yeah. But maybe in like a year's time, if I've got really back into Halo, we can revisit this. If in a year's time I just haven't got back into Halo and I'm just not playing it, then yeah, fine, we're good. But I just don't nail it in, all right?
It's an organic list. It's a moving document. All the games on here could move up or down. You might change your mind.
So what are we saying? Are we saying Ratchet and Clank, Forgotten City, Halo?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't argue against it. Okay. My fight was for the multiplayer, and I've gone back to playing other multiplayer games, first-person shooters instead of it. So I can't argue against that really.
I mean, that looks good, doesn't it? Doesn't that look nice, Chris? Look at your game up there, number 4, looking lovely, and Joe looks like he's going to cry.
I thought I was going to add something onto the list. I just didn't prepare myself emotionally.
Mate, we always said the list can move at any time. Okay. Today's the day it moves.
Right, maybe between this podcast and the next podcast, it might have accidentally shuffled around. I sneak on in the middle of the night, clicking away. Yeah. Right, so for those with the audio podcast, no idea what the list is now. Did you want to read through them, Ollie, and kind of fill them up with how it's shifted around?
Yep. So for a change, I'm going to start from the top. So number 1, Disco Elysium, then Doom, Ooblets, Ratchet and Clank, Forgotten City, Halo Infinite, Max Payne 3, Onimusha Warlords, and then lastly is Harry Potter, The Chamber of Secrets.
Awesome. Setting up to be a good list. We're one game away from being a top 10. Did you want to announce what the next game is going to be, Ollie?
So the next game, I think we should announce the next 2.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason we're doing. Okay, so the reason we're doing this next game is because it's really short. And the game is Mr. Driller Drill Land, which has just come out on PS4, PS5, everything. And it's also been out on Switch for about a year. It's the HD remake of a GameCube game. Get on that. We'll be talking about that in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to be talking about Prey, the newer version of Prey.
Yeah, so the 2017 Arcane Prey, not the other one. That's probably the biggest game. Prey is going to be the longest game that we're doing. So we're doing a shorter game just to give us more time to play. So if you have interest in playing either of those games, please do. And then you can kind of join in the conversation. We always like the idea of this being a bit of like a game club, book club type thing where people can kind of play along. And, even if you haven't played these games, send in any comments. So where should people send in any questions or points they want to make?
Chris, do you want to let them know?
I'll do it. At the Bonus Points podcast?
Wow. At the Bonus Points on Twitter. So there'll be a tweet basically about the games, and you can reply to that. That's probably the easiest way to get to let us know. And I also do a community post on the YouTube channel. And if you just like to follow us, so we have those 2 places. And also Instagram, we're at the Bonus Points. And TikTok, we are at the Bonus Points YT. So there you go. There you go, Chris. You can follow now.
Yeah, finally tick it up by 1. All of them.
Thank you so much for joining us, Chris. It's been in fact, thanks for picking the game as well, because it's I'd already completed it. would have probably never replayed it, but I had such a great time replaying it. So thanks for reintroducing it to me and introducing it to Ollie and anyone else who played it.
Yeah, well, I mean, any time. Thank you for having me. It's a good laugh, and I get to talk about like literally my favorite game of all time. So it's an easy topic, right?
And I'm sure you're gonna end up popping up in more best of threes or any other things we can drag you in on.
I'm always around.
The tier list.
Yes, yeah. So also, I mentioned earlier that we're doing a tier list where we're ranking all of the games, all of the guns from Ratchet and Clank. And Chris, seeing as he's the expert, is going to be joining for that as well. So if you did want to watch that, it's going to be linked in the description of this podcast on the video version. And I guess we're probably going to tweet it out and stuff as well.
Yeah, every single one, A rank, every gun.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than this.
That's the end of this episode of the Bonus Points podcast. There'll be one of these every other Friday. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.